All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Playoff Baseball. We got some wild card action to talk about today. It is Tuesday, October 3rd. 4 games to jump into in today's video. We're going to go through each and every game on the slate like we always do, but keep an eye on that pinned comment. All of my final plays are going to be in the pinned comment. So what we talk about in the video here, I talk about my lean or leans on the games, but what I'm actually rolling with myself, if you do want to fade those picks, those plays will be in the pinned comment, so make sure to keep an eye on that. Before we do get into it, guys, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. If you are not on Sleeper and it's legal in your slate, then you are literally sleeping. Pun very much intended. Make sure to check it out, guys. Use the link in the pinned comment. Get 100% of your first deposit matched. You put in $100, Sleeper's gonna go, here's 100 more. You'll have a new account balance of $200. It's a great DFS pick'em app. Each and every pick you make has its own payout multiplier. They don't just follow the normal structure. And if you don't know what it is, guys, all you do is put 2 to 8 players in a slip, player props, and then the more you get right, the more you get paid out. Make sure to go check out Sleeper. I've been enjoying that app for months at this point. It's a really, really cool app. I'm on there pretty much every single day. Now let's go ahead and jump into today's slate. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, smash that like button for some playoff baseball action, and let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Texas Rangers. Sort of an interesting, I don't know if you would call it a turn of events here, but if you remember, pretty much up until the last day of the season, Texas was sitting in that divisional winner spot, and then they slide to the 5 seed here within the wild card. They take on Tampa Bay, who is the 4 seed. In terms of what we're looking at here, Tampa Bay is fairly heavily juiced at -150 on the money line. Total sitting at 7.5 here. In terms of what these two teams did against one another this year, Texas actually took 4 of the 6 games, but I don't really love their chances here. The way Texas closed this season was pretty bad. They had a divisional matchup against Seattle. They lose 3 of the 4 there. They only scored, they scored 2 or less runs in those 3 losses there. They did have a 1 game there. I think it was their second to last or third to last game where they scored 6 runs, but I'm going to trust the home team. This game matters so much. It's a best of 3 series. I'm going to give the nod to the home team, Tampa Bay, here on the money line. I just like Tyler Glasnow going out there. He's been pitching fairly well. He actually pitched really well against Texas last time out. 6 innings pitched, only 1 hit, 1 earned run. That 1 hit was a home run. So he had a decent outing there. Going up against Jordan Montgomery, who he's been fairly consistent. I just don't know if I can fully put my trust in him for, not to call this a must-win game, but these 3-game series, like this first opening game here, is massive. And I think there's a reason why Tampa Bay is fairly heavily favored. And then you look at their offenses here. To close out the year, last 5 games here, Tampa Bay versus lefties, 340 average, 375 on base percentage, averaging 6.4 runs per 9. Texas, 184 average, 294 on base percentage, 2.9 runs per 9. So maybe Texas goes out there and shocks me and proves themselves worthy, because if you recall, I did like betting on this Texas team plenty during the season, but they just kind of let me down. So I think this Tampa Bay team's ready. I think this Tampa Bay team knows that they were a couple injuries away from being the top team in the AL for a decent amount of the season. So give me them on the money line here. I also trust their bullpen a tad more. Texas' bullpen in the last 3. Again, looking at these recent games for Texas, maybe a bad picture to paint because they were so bad, but 9.32 ERA with a 2.04 ERA. I'll take Tampa Bay's bullpen over them. In terms of the total, I know that we're going to have some low lines because of playoff baseball, and it matters that much. Each and every pitcher like sitting on pins and needles, right? But I still think that these offenses, even though Texas has been struggling, I still think these offenses are capable of much more. So I'm going to lean towards the over 7.5 here, ever so slightly. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we end up rolling with that. The thing that would kind of take me off of it and turn me off of it is the fact that Texas's offense has been a little shaky and inconsistent as of late. I think we can count on Tampa Bay to give us a floor of 4 or 5 runs, but can we get Texas to give us that 3 to 4 as well? So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we end up ultimately rolling with that. Next up, we have Minnesota taking on Toronto here. Minnesota in the 3 seed, Toronto being the number 6 seed here. On the mound for Minnesota, we do have Pablo Lopez, who at one point in the season was absolutely ice cold in a good way. You know what I mean? Like he was just ice in the veins, or red hot, depending on which way you want to look at it. But he was absolutely crushing it at one point in the season, going up against Kevin Gausman, who closed out the year really well. His last 2 starts here now, though they were against the Yankees and then against the Yankees, so he could put, take a little bit of weight off it. But his last 2 starts, 6 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, combining for 15 strikeouts in there, averaging 7 strikeouts per game in his last 5 here. I do think that he is the better pitcher, and I think in this spot, you got the Toronto Blue Jays for plus money right now, plus 100 over on FanDuel, and the better pitcher. Pitcher's going to matter so much in the playoffs, especially in a shortened series like this, 3 games. I'm going to lean towards Toronto here on the money line. Yes, I hate that they're on the road. I can admit that, but I do think that this is going to be a spot where a lot of people, think that this is going to be a Minnesota spot because they are at home. I think Gausman sort of, equals that out. If we even look at the outlier tool, guys, by the way, outlier tool, 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment. You could see 59% of the bets here on the Twins, but 55% of the sharp money actually on the money line for Toronto here. So I'm going to kind of go with the experts in this case and take a peek at Toronto here on the money line. I think it's good value. To be clear, and just to be transparent, I do think that this is maybe a Minnesota series. I think that they have, not to say a better team, but I think Toronto may be like a year away from making that ultimate push with some of their young guys. But Gausman on the rock, Gausman with the rock on the bump, I do think this is a spot for them. In terms of the total, actually, before we can get to the total, I will say offensively, I think that both these two teams are looking to score. They've been batting fairly well to close out the year. 271 average for the Twins in their last 5, 276 average for the Blue Jays in their last 5, both on base percentages above 330. So Gausman's going to have his work cut out for him, but I do think that is going to be the thing. This Toronto offense kind of stays where it was, which is fairly consistent, right? They were giving you 6-5. I think they had 8 runs in their last, game of the season. Minnesota also gave you a lot of runs to end the year, but that was against Colorado in Colorado, so I don't know how much weight to put into it. But nonetheless, if Gausman can kind of temper the Minnesota offense, I do think that, Minnesota kind of stumbles and has a tough time preventing Toronto from scoring. So that leads us into the total. I like the over here, not because of the fact that I think a lot of runs are going to be scored, but because it's at 7.5. I just talked about how these offenses, to some degree are stepping in the right direction, and you're getting plus money at plus 105 over on Caesar. So if this was, 8.5, I'd be totally off of it, but 7.5 low line. Yes, it's playoff baseball. I'm gonna hear that in the comments. I can tell, like, why are you betting overs? It's playoff baseball. It's like, I get it, but for plus 105 for 2 offenses that are moving and trending in the right direction, I don't hate it. Yes, you kind of gotta turn a blind eye to the pitching because these are 2 studs on the mound, but I'll still lean towards the over. Whether or not I pull the trigger on it, still TBD, but I must say that plus 105 definitely has my eye. Let's go ahead and continue on with the slate. Actually, before we do that, let me go ahead and brag about my brand, Fade Me, guys. If you have not picked up any Fade Me gear, today is the day. You can shop our latest hoodies and sweatshirts. We got a ton of cool designs out right now. Or if you're still, in a warmer area or just want a lounging around type t-shirt, we have a ton of cool t-shirts as well and hats. You guys can support what we're doing here and support me directly by picking up some merch. It would mean literally the world. I know that sounds crazy. I know it might sound like I'm just saying it, but this is seriously the project that I'm probably most excited about in this content creation, media creation spot right now. Every single time, and I get all the orders listed out in my phone, every single time my phone bings and I see an order from the store, I get giddy, I get super excited. So yeah, guys, go ahead and check out the Fade Me store today. Low prices, and we got really, really good quality. Like, this is not just, I've seen comments like, oh, it's probably just YouTuber merch. No. We spent a long time trying to find the right, styles and whatnot and everything like that, and right materials. So I do really take pride in this, and I know people that pick up the merch will be satisfied with the product. If you're not, DM me, we'll talk. I might not believe you because it's so good, but I know nonetheless, guys, if you do want to pick up merch, you do want to support what we're doing here, check it out, fademe.store. That link will be in the pinned comment as well. Let's continue on with the last 2 games of today's slate. We turn our attention over to the NL. Number 3 seed Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks here. Brandon Fdat going for the Diamondbacks, who, yeah, I just can't really get behind them, to be completely honest. If he is pitching, he's the probable starter as of right now. In going for Milwaukee here, we do have Corbin Burnes, who he actually closed out the year really well. In 3 of his last 5 starts, he pitched, I think it was either 5 or 4 plus innings of scoreless baseball in 3, and individually 3 of his last 5. So I like their chances here, and look at the odds, -175 right now. Obviously they are the big favorites in this spot. On the season, they finished at 92-70. They had 8 more wins than the Arizona Diamondbacks. I do think that the Brewers are the better team. I think they played better baseball down the stretch. Arizona actually lost 4 straight games, so they did have a series against the Houston Astros, which Houston got their spot based on that series as well, right, winning 4 games. But nonetheless, this is not a team that has the momentum behind us. In their last 10, they're only batting .209 right now against righties. In their last 5, it gets even worse. They're batting .150 for average against righties. I think this is Brewers all day long. Unfortunately, -175, -180, depending on where you get it, is probably outpriced in my mind. I think it's a little bit too expensive. Total sitting at 8 runs, though. Arizona's offense was absent to close out the year. Ready? Their last 4 games, 1 run, 1 run, 0 runs, 1 run. Last 4 games of the season. Remember, and mind you, they're solidifying a playoff spot, right? I mean, they got lucky. They did the job earlier. They're pretty much in the playoffs, but they only scored 3 runs in the last 4 games to close the season. Like, yikes. There's no momentum there. I cannot trust this spot for them, so I'm going to lean towards the under. I liked the over. Part of me thinks it's going to go over, so I hate to confuse you, but I'm just as confused, and I'm being transparent. But I just see that Arizona offense, and I say, what are we doing here? I need to see some runs scored before I can take an over with them included, and they're the highest total on the board today at 8 runs. So Milwaukee, I think they'll give you a decent amount of runs. Last 3 games, 4, 6, 4. Like, I think they'll give you a floor of 4. Rhyming. But I don't think Arizona, I just got to see it before I bet on it. So give me the under 8 here as well. I will say this, in terms of a duo, this is probably some of the weaker pitching that we are seeing, in terms of a game 1 of the wild card here. So that is most likely why the total is up there. Again, Corbin Burnes is fine. Brandon Fdat, I don't think he's good at all. I mean, he's an underrated, his terribleness is overrated, I should say that, but I still don't trust him as far as I could throw him, which would be pretty far, actually, so I guess, eating my words there. But nonetheless, guys, give me the under 8 runs in that one. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what becomes a final play. All right, Phillies taking on Miami here. These 2 teams played in September. Miami took 2 of the 3. Miami actually played fairly well against this team all year long. They split the games, their last 10 at least, against one another, and they were all this season 5-5. Right now, the Phillies are at -155 on the money line, and I am partial to Zach Wheeler. I say it all the time. I think the guy's one of the more underrated pitchers in the MLB. Jesus Luzardo, who, to close out the year, or at least his starts, was kind of up and down, we can say that. He's going for Miami here. In his last 3 starts here, Jesus Luzardo is looking at a 1.96 ERA with a .93 whip, which is really good. And then you turn over to Zach Wheeler, who his doesn't look too bad either. 2.6 ERA with a 1.12 whip there. I think immediately I jumped to the under in this spot. I think that a lot of the public, and even using the outlier tool, guys, we can jump right back in there. You could see down here in the bottom right that most of the public, actually, the public money, 59% on the over. You see here 64% actually coming in on the money on the under. So I do like seeing that as well. That is going to be my main lean in this game. I think the under. I also back the Phillies, but like I said before, -155 is a decent price tag, and I do think that this Miami team, they won 3 of their last 4 games. They won 5 of their last 7 games, 6 of their last 10 to close out the year. Like, they played decent baseball. The Phillies did as well. They had a tough series against New York to close the series. They lose 2 of 3 there, but prior to that, they were on kind of fire. So I'm going to take the Phillies, but it is a decent price tag to be paying. But you got to remember, guys, don't get in football brain. I will say this to close out the video, I guess. Don't get in football brain, because football brain, you see, -140 odds, -150, you're like, oh my God, I can never do that, right? It's like, it's so weird. Basketball, football, you can't take those odds because it's too much juice, or, blah, blah, blah. Baseball, you can make plays up to like -160 and no one bats an eye. And I know this. I make picks every single day for thousands of people, right? It's super, super weird. So it makes me think, like, in basketball, why don't you take sometimes -150 favorites and stuff like it's just a very weird kind of like thing that I've noticed over the years in the sports betting industry, that like -110 is a football odd. You don't want to take anything worse than that or you're paying too much juice. Baseball, you could consider -155. Same thing with hockey. I guess it's because it is like a money line, puck line / run line betting sports. But nonetheless, guys, I do think that is a lot of juice. But sometimes if you still feel strongly about the play, if you've done your research, that's most important, and you do think that this is a good spot, 150 is still an all right price to be paying. I don't want to be telling you go pay the juice, because at a point it doesn't get worth it, and 150 is right on that line. But baseball, that's more okay than football, and I just find that very odd. But guys, if you're still watching right now and you listen to that rant, go ahead and comment 15 because you made it 15 minutes into the video, and I appreciate the hell out of you guys. We're gonna have a good baseball season here. We did drop a couple units in the last day of the MLB season, so I think we finished right around 32 units for the regular season, up 32 units, which is awesome. 12 of those or 11 of those came from parlays. So if we exclude parlays, like I like to do, right, still up over 20 units on the MLB regular season. So let's keep that momentum going into the playoffs. I love the fact that we have smaller slates to dissect and everything like that now too. It should be fun. We have basketball right around the corner. When am I going to find the time to live? When am I going to have my life? No, this is my life, and amongst other things. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.